Hey everyone, Jacqueline JW Van Minimal. I am going to be bringing you a quick message related to my project called Finding Freedom. I've been thinking about it quite a long time, over a year, how I will put it out there, distinguish it between anything else that's out there. Part of it has to do with my goal to do van life for about a year. That's the timeline I have on it, but I've been thinking about other things related to it for more than that time. So I'm waiting for a client and thought I'd take this opportunity because I'm parked near the lake. Let me turn around, but what's going to happen is the sun is going to screw up the lighting, but that's where I sit. As you can see, the sky is blue. It's beautiful, and I am facing the lake atop a hill of sorts. The lake is below me. Um, so I thought I'd just stop procrastinating and take this time to go ahead and give you a little bit of information about what I will be doing. I kind of mentioned it a little bit yesterday. It is not completely thought out, which is something that I don't do normally. Like uh, I get involved in analysis paralysis, and I like for everything to be done and squared away before I start a project. But for this, since I've been thinking about it for so long and actually done a couple things related to it, I just need to go ahead and jump in and get it done. So I've been thinking about like the titles and where my focus is going to be. Many things are related to what I've talked about before: the minimalism situation, um, the van vehicle living situation. But I also want to focus on our mindset, and it really has been on my spirit to discuss it because I've been driving around individuals who have varying degrees of disability. Some are just elders who may have some physical limitations, or the lady I talk about who doesn't speak English. Some are individuals who just have some disability, but it's not like you see the disability. It could be physical, it could even be mental, but they just, appear like everyone else. And then there are those who I've been exposed to, where I mentioned the young man and his sister. The young man totally has autism, and I cannot speak in depth about what that means to me, what it means officially, because I'm not sure. I just know that there are different forms of autism, and I am pretty convinced this young man has it. In addition to the other physical disabilities that are noticeable, he said he might be 30 years old, and he definitely maybe had the cognition of a 5-year old, but not like the things that 5-year olds don't know. It's not like he doesn't know stuff. He's, an intelligent being. It's just that he has some limitations. And then his sister, who has a speech impairment, so she doesn't really talk. She can express herself in a couple of words, maybe, but she also has some delays. I'm not sure if it's cognitive or not, because if I'm talking to her, she knows exactly what I'm saying. She knows how to, they know how to take care of themselves, basically. But they do have some limitations, and I always think about um, that. So that's going to be a topic of one of my vlogs related to mind and body finding freedom, because clearly individuals with any kind of impairment have found ways to survive and find their freedom. And I'm always wondering about their caregivers. So my parent, I'm just going to jump around a little bit. My parents, my mom passed away when she was 64 years old. I was in my 30s, and it was terrible. Um, but she was, even though she was younger compared these days, because I'm 56, um, So, 50 is the new whatever they call it. So, but my mother had various health issues throughout my, I'll just say my adult life, because when I was younger, those things I never paid attention to, and I think she was fairly healthy. But when I became an adult and more aware, I noticed that she had more physical ailments, and they had went on for a good, I don't know, 10, 15 years. So, um, so had she still been alive, I know for a fact that there would be a whole massive situation of how we would give care to her, um, whether it be in one of our homes or in a facility. I don't know. My grandfather uh, lived, her dad lived to a very ripe mid 80s age, if not older, but he lived with dementia and Alzheimer's for a good 15 years before he passed away. And my grandma, my she's like my step grandma, but my grandma, she raised my mother and them, because my grandmother, my mother's mother, passed away when my mother was about 12 years old. So this my grandma, the other grandma, took care of my mother and her siblings. So she took care of my grandfather way up in his age, and they were nearly the same age, but she still took care of him. And she herself lived up into her 80s. But both my mother and my father passed in their 60s. My mother was 64 years old. And my dad, who was always a very healthy individual, like strong as a horse, but may have had some underlying health issues that we didn't know about. But when he was in his mid 60s, they found him to have a heart condition. It was very traumatic for us. My mom and dad had divorced a long, long time ago. But my father, he lived in Chicago, and I'd visit him on a regular basis, especially when I became a mid 30 and above adult. I would go to Chicago on a whim and go see my father just to hang out with him, because that's how our family is. I don't know, family is sacred. So I would go see him. He would look forward to me visiting. We would have a good time. He had remarried, all that stuff. So all that was good. But in his mid 60s, he became impaired with a heart situation where they performed surgery, and he never was the same after that, because then after that they found him to have some kidney issues, which could have been something related to diabetes. I don't know, because they never, how health systems are. So he ended up going on dialysis, and after that his health just went to pot. So we had him another 3 or 4 years, and he himself passed away when he was 67. And during that time, again, he was married, but and he lived in Chicago. He had separated from his wife, and he was living in his own place, and he needed care. He lived in a facility, actually, assisted. It was a loose form of assisted living, but it wasn't like he had care coming to his home or anything. And my stepmother and myself had been talking about us moving him here with us, so we could actually help take care of him, keep our eye out, because his health was really in uh, bad condition because of, I don't know, the health treatment that I felt he got was not inappropriate, incompetent. I don't know. It just wasn't good health care. But we had talked about how to care for him. Excuse me. And then again, that would put some of us family members in the area of caregiving. So I was thinking about that, thinking about these young people that I'm that I'm driving, and their lives, and they have mind and body impairments, and how does that relate to any of us thinking about finding our freedom? Especially, again, I'm thinking about caregivers. And how they are finding freedom in their lives. Because for me, and I'll get on to like those of us who don't have those kind of challenges, we have other things going on. Believe me, we have other challenges. But individuals who are caring for folks who might have limitations, like their mindset around freedom. I think about the mom of these two young people. They're probably in their late 30s. I'm sorry, late 20s, early 30s. They're millennials. How she lives her life, because clearly in their world they will need care for the rest of their lives, I'm assuming. I don't know if they'll be able to live on their own. I don't know. They seem to know how to take care of themselves, because the young man, he gives me his daily routine about taking a shower and bathing and all of that. I don't know if I asked him about cooking. I will. Because he is the verbal one, I can ask him all those questions. His sister is nonverbal, but I'm sure I can ask her. She'll figure a way to communicate with me. But in their lives, what is their freedom for them? So as I go out throughout the series around, finding freedom, it'll be focused on me asking you different questions related to it and just my experiences, so that it gives you food for thought. But how are we managing this finding freedom situation? And I've been thinking about it a lot, and I'll talk about that way later in other posts about why I came to this conclusion. And part of it has to do with me and being able to feel as though I can travel wherever I want, when I want. But when you have responsibilities, i.e. a traditional job, or children, or spouses, or individuals in your family who might need care, that limits that. So then how do you address this whole thing around finding freedom? If you yourself have any physical limitations, what can you do to help you find freedom? If you have any mind, what do you call it? It's like when you have a block, like writer's block. So this is more like mind block. How do you find freedom during those times? What are some things you can do to free yourself, especially up here around freedom? And I'm going to talk mostly about that, but then I'll get into the more physical stuff, like limiting the things you have around you, i.e. minimalism, limiting some of the beliefs you have that stop you from doing things that you actually feel like you want to do. Many of us, in my mind, and my thought, is that we put all of these mirrors or blocks in front of us and think we can't do certain things, and it keeps us from finding freedom. So that's what my series is going to be about. It will be a hodgepodge, but I do hope that you continue to watch my channel and learn and grow with me. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. I'm a blessed individual. I'm very grateful for whatever experiences I've had thus far, and there have not been a bed of roses, believe me. So I will be talking to you about those things. In the meantime, I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine, Jojo Pa, in Soroma. She has her own channel. She's always supportive. She has been a spiritual investor in my life, is what I can say. And I want to shout her out because she watches my channel and she gives me feedback, and we talk offline, of course. So Wisdom Walk is her channel, and I really encourage you to check her out. She's I'm going to say it loosely, a pontificator like myself. So but she has so much knowledge, and I appreciate her. And then of course, I've talked to you guys about some of the other people I follow. So I am going to let you go. I wanted to let you know what I'm up to, where I'm going. Hopefully you will join me. Subscribe to my channel if you don't. Like and comment below and share it. I'd appreciate that as well. So I'm going to bid you a good day, and I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for joining me. JW Van Minimal.